Good afternoon. I'm Jose Castro Cuartas, and I'm recording the activity about delirium by myself because I had an inconvenience with my teammates agreeing on a date to work because of the time availability. So I was forced to work alone. The role that I chose with my group was ecologist, so that is my position in the discourse. I want to start talking about why is lithium so important. The lithium is a metal and it's really important because it has so many uses in the modern world as being part of heat conducting alloys, being raw material to make different type of last generation batteries to electronic devices or electronic vehicles, and also its use on the medicine area to treat mental disorders. To continue talking about the problem that lithium creates, a point to highlight is that the salars have brine water systems, but they also have fresh water. The important thing about this extraction is that the balance between the two water systems isn't broken because this could cause desalination of the water, and water that the affected communities will not be able to use and they need it to live. Many communities don't give it enough importance. In some salars, three or four projects are planned in the same place with different uses of the water and without knowing how this ecosystem work. In many cases, there isn't enough background information available to evaluate the impacts of the project and of the combination that may result from them. And in the same way the companies make them, regardless of that. Another impact to consider is the loss of diversity in the area. Species can be lost when entering to interfere in its habitat, and that already has a direct environmental impact on diversity. Okay, I want to talk about the role of native communities and how they are affected. Well, first of all, emphasize that in most projects, authorities don't recognize communities and natives as involved actors and are in fact the ancestral owners of the territory. Many communities oppose these lithium mining projects because they are concerned about water, and it becomes necessary to explain something. The human body has about 7 milligrams of lithium, and from 15 it's already highly toxic. So, if there is lithium contamination in the aquifers or rivers, that lithium can reach communities, and if it arrives, will have toxicology and environmental health problems. Okay, so um, local people are often exploited by big companies, and I want to talk about possible solutions. Many of the applied studies indicate that no significant environmental or social problems have been identified in the area, and this is because the organization that controls the environmental impact assessment process shouldn't be the same authority that promotes such mining development. The officials in charge promote mining development and don't know how the communities live. Um, there is a cultural shock of understandings and perspective that a previous consultation should be able to articulate, so that the evaluation process is not just a formality with a state administration and bureaucratic logic. In addition, these processes should respect the decision of the communities that don't want to risk their ways of life and reject extraction in their territories. A good environmental impact study should consider a whole year of condition monitoring and environmental care studies to avoid damaging the ecosystems as much as possible and take care of the local people. I think the best way is to require companies to carry out prevention studies. For example, some recommended studies is environment impact manifestation, and continuing with the theme of companies, it's clear that lithium today is an important business, then it becomes necessary to talk about alternatives for these investors and companies. Okay, talking about the lithium alternatives, um, I will talk about the sodium ion battery. Sodium ion batteries provide recharge of up to 80% of their capacity in just 15 minutes and promise high energy density and good thermal stability in many scenarios. This is so important an advantage over the lithium, which lose performance when it's very hot or very cold. And sodium is also cheaper and more ecological. Another advantage of sodium is its lithium-like performance. Batteries built with both elements work by shifting long ions between cathodes and anodes. And talking about investor opportunities, that is an important topic. There are governments that oppose the extraction of lithium. If you work with sodium, you could expand to more countries. Your business, because it's as such a common resource, its commercialization will be cheaper. Well, finally, a question who some can ask is if there are better ways to extract lithium. There are different extraction processes. Australia, the largest global producer, gets it through conventional mining, but it's an expensive and dirty process. Um, Chile, Argentina, and China, on the other hand, use a slow evaporation process of the water from the brines. An advantage of the system that I found is that the water doesn't evaporate during this process and is reused without adding chemicals. To do this, extract the brine using a pumping system to introduce it into a reactor with two electrodes. And this selective trap on the one hand lithium ions and on the other the chloride of the brine to be returned when salting. And I propose that all the plants run on renewable energy like solar panels. Um, that was all. Thanks for watching.